Check, check, microphone check, 1, 2, 3. Hello there, everybody. I hope everybody's having a good weekend. Hey there, Lon. How are you doing? You're doing good? Good, that's good. How have you been lately? What have you been up to lately, I should ask? Let's have another test, even though I don't think it's gonna work. But fuck it. Oh. Last one, it doesn't work at all. Alright. I'll do that then. Been playing Dark Souls 2. Nice, how's that going? This time I did not forget to take a screenshot of that. This time. Let's see what we have to do today before we go to survival. Using only 4 bullets or less skill for unit as snipers in a row without collateral damage. Oh. Now I have to
buckle up, people.
Get used to
Go on without me.
Controls for this game. I'm gonna go to MLB Condor to do this mission. Yes, you're back doing what? Oh, you mean you're doing things now? So you're back and forth? It's going, it be Dark Souls. Right. Oh, I guess that means you didn't beat it yet. Son of a bitch, civilian. Goes the slowest there. go around because I didn't know if he would turn or not. Frustrating. More frustrating than the first one.
Sniper, top of the tower.
One.
Sniper up in the
Two.
tower.
I think it doesn't say. Yeah, just with 4 bullets or less. Okay. NPCs are bosses. There's a Dahor.
Hemos perdido contacto con las tropas enemigas. Todas las unidades manténganse en formación de búsqueda. Perdimos contacto con el enemigo. Salgan del servicio.
Yeah.
Good. We all in one piece?
Without collateral damage.
We've got enemy activity nearby. Eyes on a grunt. He's alone.
And 4 bullets only. So gotta pay attention.
Sniper, top of the tower.
That's 3 and 1 more. Playing the Mecha Chameleon game.
Sniper up in the tower.
Yeah, I think I saw when you were playing with the girls. With Ebony and Veronica, and I don't know who else was there. Alright, there we go. That is 4. Actually nice, because I love to paint. How many times did they find you? Hey there, Michaelson. Welcome in. Welcome, welcome. How are you doing, Michaelson? They didn't find you a lot of times. And how many times did you find them? I should wait. Here. Show cancelled. Using only crossbow. I am.
We've learned that El Cheeto's concert venue is a place called Umamarca. We're canceling the show. Get inside the venue and tear the place.
I am used to Stalker 2 keys. So I'm pressing all the wrong keys at the moment. You didn't find them a lot of times either. Yeah, okay. They getting better. Oh wait. Okay. 60 actually, that's okay. That's cool. That's full. Hey, Michaelson.
Marking a captain.
Wait, is that just one?
Spotting
No,
another tango.
that's what I thought. I'm gonna fuck this up. I didn't.
Clear on this side. Yo, we got Unidad approaching.
I see that on the minimap.
Heads up, narco with a submachine gun.
Point him out.
By the stack of tires.
Oh, I should have probably done
Drone
some
is airborne.
recon beforehand.
We got a tango with multiple civilians around. The Jenny's over here.
Everybody's sleeping. Almost
Got a
everybody.
tango. Here's target number 5. Just
Oh.
spotted one with submachine guns. I asked the rebels to do a recon of the area.
Transmitting intel on enemy positions.
There are light panels here.
All right, that's I count 15 of them.
We got a
I
mounted
target
weapon.
carrying submachine guns.
I see some light panels over here.
I've got eyes on a captain.
Get these as well.
Spotted one
Marked.
with submachine guns.
Then let's mark these two.
Enemy marked.
Check if anybody's in here. There still might. Or they might be sleeping.
I got a target carrying submachine guns. Target spotted.
I guess everybody else is here and
I
in
asked
the
the
back.
rebels to recon the area for us.
And there. Bunch of them. Bunch of them there. Awesome. Be subscribed to your channel for 6 years. Add a following. You can do !! followage. You'll see exactly how long have you been following. And also thank you. I appreciate the 6 years.
I got eyes on a sniper.
Six.
I asked the rebels to do a recon of the area.
All right. No unit add so far. That's good. That's a lot. Indeed it is. Indeed it is. How long have you been alone? Because you've been for a few years as well. You've been following me for 1 month? Yeah, right. Fine. If you guys won't do it, I will do it. There you go. 3 years, 5 months, 1 day. Nice. 5 years, 6 months, 17 days, 8 hours.
Yo, 2 cartel gunmen. Right by that stack of tires.
You guys are crazy for
Check
sticking
your
around
target.
for
We got
so long.
civilians all over the place. Down. You're giving yourself away.
Hey, throwing a flashbang.
Okay, we're still all right. Hold up. They're gonna spot you.
Fuck you. Seeing me so well. Wow. Let's see, how long have I been following myself? Ah, dang it, you can do your own. Hey, what about... Yeah, no, you can't. That would have been interesting. Why are you crazy? Of course, love you.
Throwing a flashbang.
I am not following myself, it seems like.
We're good. We're good.
They didn't even get flashed. That's bullshit. But anyway. Yeah, I'm not following myself, it seems like. Best streamer. Who? Where's the best streamer? If I start blowing these shit up, they're gonna hear it. They're gonna start coming.
I asked the rebels to recon the area for us.
Why did not work? Let them come here. You don't watch Twitch a lot? Me neither, to be honest. Me neither. I do Ebony whenever I can on Saturdays, since that's the only time she streams. And other than that, I might do some lurks. Or maybe a couple of guys.
Civilians in the area.
It's a
Watch your
swift-
targets.
Inspecting.
Reinforcements won't be flying in anytime soon. We got the alarms.
Okay, that was that.
Acaba de tronar algo.
But that's done.
Estamos todos, cúbranse.
Got a call to the rebels for some reinforcements.
Copy that. A third team will be right there.
The only place we can leave as well. Which when you stream? Ebony streams when I go to
A
church.
third team will move into position.
So I miss her stream always. Oh, I see.
The lieutenant's escaping.
Ah, shit. There's unit ahead on the road. The lieutenant. How long are you at church though? Because she's streaming for quite a few hours. Let's see if we can survive this.
I called for rebels to draw their attention.
Press 6 and come back at 8:30. So 2.5 hours. Yeah, she streams more than 2.5 hours. Today, when she had a short stream, she streamed about 4 or 5 hours. So you can still join up after. Or before, I'm not sure about the timing. Fucker comes here. Son of a bitch. As soon as I come out of hiding. Talk notifications on my phone. She does scary games. I mean, yeah, that is true. She does do scary games and you guys don't do it. But not all the time. Like last week she didn't. She was doing... What did she do? Oh, last week I think is when she did Mega Chameleon. I think you did join last week, but just saying hi and bye.
Clear over here.
Who, what? On Ebony stream.
We're clear on this side.
You. You joined Ebony stream last week, I think. But it was at the end.
Hang on, I'll drive.
Ebony happy to you. Does it definitely? What the heck? Wow, that's what you do. That's what you do to people. When they talk to you, you just mute them. Wow. Just wow, Lo. I'm telling her I'm talking about her on stream. Is she gonna come in and ask about what you were saying? Should I prep myself? Okay, that's done. The last one we're not even gonna attempt because that's the fucking Operation Silent Space Snafu with sniper rifle. So it's no, we're not doing that. Are you gonna run over the bus, Mr. Jensen?
We've ID'd the
Oh, I'm
Buchon
good.
as an American national named Marcus Jensen. He's heading to a meeting at the Witch Market.
Good, I guess. I have to stream some more. And I have to play some other co-op games. You're reading your
I'll
chats.
drive.
Man, y'all never let me drive anymore. Just 'cause that one time?
Walker lady. What? Huh?
We're entering the Witch Market.
El Mercado de las Brujas. This is where the locals come to buy good luck charms or love potions or even a curse for their enemies. No shit.
Eyes up. If the intel is correct, Jensen could be here somewhere.
Yeah, there he is.
What's a guy like Jensen looking for in a place like this? Whatever it is, it ain't good. Trust me.
Eyes on Jensen. Take him alive.
Nope, we're not taking him alive. Definitely not that. There we go. Task force challenge done. Take him alive, runs him over. Look, that's what we had to do for a task force challenge. And who's better to run over than Marcus Jensen? Because, you know, Marcus Jensen. Alright, we are pretty much done with the dailies. Glad you read. I didn't. What? Huh? Are you talking to me? A brain in multiple spots. We were doing the task force challenge. What are you doing? Are you playing Repo with them? Are they still playing Repo? You know, play Repo. Hanging out. Why don't you play Repo? Don't you like the game? I thought you liked it. No, evidence not. Okay. Let's just... We're gonna start from here and we're gonna extract in Koani Air Base. Or airport, whatever. Deleted it. What did it do to you? What did it do to you, Lone Wolf? I have to revive my channel. You don't play scary games? You didn't play it with us. Also gets boring after a while. Repetitive. Yeah. I agree with that. Alright. Red guns. That matter. Whatever. EFF. No drone. Oh, and there we go. No, I'm not picking up ammo. There's no reason to pick up ammo. We get rid of the HUD.
Sure are a lot of lights and switches up here.
Let's ride.
What the heck? Alright, let me get the thing up. The tools. Let's get up in the air. Watching the VOD when they needed it a long time ago, because I never watched it. I don't know which one you're talking about. I have quite a few VODs with Nini, and or with a lot of people. Who is Balan Master?
Shitballs.
Ah, that one. Okay, I see. I never watched it. Did you finish watching it now? like, is this new? That is definitely not new. How is that, like 2021, 2022, something like that? So 4 or 5 years old.
Fucking
6
hell.
years ago, 2020. Oh, sheesh. Okay. Actually, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Yeah, that was before TwitchCon. Young Dogo was shy. What the heck?
Shitballs.
Alright. Let's jump out. We go down. That's close enough. Still young. What, you think that I'm shy? Or that I was shy? Is that what came off from that video? I was quiet, and shy. Okay. All right, helicopter empty. SMG-11 Dragon, stop fucking going away. Okay, SMG-11 Dragon. SMG Skull, SMG-11 Dragon, there we go. Wait, keep. Alright, loot. Oh. LMG. MK. LMG. MK249 America. America. No, actually, it's America, so I can't do anything about it. Nice. Alright, alright. We good. So, off to Koani we go. Let's actually go up north here. Because I don't... This is one of those areas that I don't know as well as the rest. So... let's go get lost. Even though we won't get lost, but let's go attempt to get lost. Gonna need something that's silenced. This is not gonna work all the way. Now the way to Koani. So we get Libertad straight ahead and Chorrillos and Rocha to the right. Or slightly to the right. Libertad Rocha. What do we have up here this way? Is it a safe house? No, it cannot be the safe house. That should be further left, further west. Is it hot there too? Hello? Here is freaking crazy right now. And it's just gonna get even more and more crazier. Asking if it's hot there too. The weather. And there's a heat wave there too. Or you're already over the heat wave. It's actually rainy season. I see. The morning is hot. So that's even worse. Hey there, Brit, welcome in. Yes, you did hear heat wave indeed. Is there one there too? And also, how are you doing, Brit? An evening here, it rains sometime. Hey, check this out. It stopped raining in the game. Kinda. Yeah, so it's even worse then. That's all.
We're gonna look around here for some intel.
It's all wet and rainy. And hot, I mean. Wet and hot. What is it in Celsius? For me, I don't know, today I saw like 34 while I was on Ebony's stream. Last night it was 24.
We'll leave a marker so the rebels
But
can pick up the supplies later.
today, from what I've seen on the hourly, at some point it should have been also like 37. And it's just gonna get hotter and hotter. Oh, there should be the safe house here, I think. Are you taking me out on a date? What the heck? Yes, it is hot. It is very hot. Not me. it's you. Grenade. What the heck? Maybe I'll get 40 degrees Celsius. Not yet, but 37 is not too far from it. And supposedly we will. And I am very much not looking forward to it. There we go.
We got
There
a
it
guy
is.
coming in.
Oh. There it is. Let's just wait until they leave. Throw it for everyone but me. In the bottom of a barrel. Attack. Here where I live.
Wake up. Unidad approaching.
Time to turn that AC down. I do not have an AC. So I have nothing to turn down. I have a fan, that's all I have. And it's blowing all the time.
Alright, we're good.
Even right now, it's blowing right on me. Give the AC to Doko. I mean, I would get one, but it's not my place. It's a rent, so I don't want to spend on it. Helicopter empty and game locked up. Awesome. There. Shotgun ACS-12. For now, we're gonna get it. Shotgun ACS-12. Oh, this one. I think this is the automatic shotgun. The one that can be automatic. Shotgun model 1887. Yeah, I'm not gonna get that. Last straw Brit. What the heck? Oh shit, no, not keep. Loot. Nothing and nothing in the 2 bikes. Oh, come on. My game keeps locking up. Pulling strings already. I'm slightly disappointed. What the heck? Okay, okay, did everything, I think. But I'm already missing you. Always here to disappoint. What the? Go that way. Maybe even further to the left. No, I think it's right that way. Laughing so much. At least you'll always be there. What the actual heck, guys? There it is. I was wondering if we're gonna get to the button. Let's press the don't press me button. Alright. Probably not long. I need to leave Earth soon. What the heck? Oh, the stars for you. What the actual fuck? Ah shit, I can't see. If I zoom in. Need to steal the moon for the minions. Stop getting flirty. Steal Mars for you. You hear that, Lone? He's gonna steal a bar of chocolate for you. At least he's not stealing Snickers for himself, like Shadow does. Sorry, I've just been so lonely. That's Caimanes. That's where the safe house from Caimanes on top of the mountain is. So it is further left. To get the training in. Oh, you're training your flirtiness on loan? And I was doing Mars, steal some chocolate and put them in the goose fridge so they can blame it. Excuse you, Lone Wolf? Excuse you? Earlier he was like, 'cause we love you, and now he's trying to blame shit on me. Wow, Lone Wolf, just wow. I think there's also some... Yeah, there it is. Supply drop on this side of this mountain. And there is the helo, I was about to say, and there's some vehicle on, like, above it or something near it. Okay, we got someone in life. GT chocolate heist. Smear chocolate on some of his fingers too. What the fuck? Don't you think that I'm gonna notice that? The heck?
Take a look at that.
Plus that I think that I do still have some Mars chocolate in my fridge. I think, I'm not entirely sure. But I might still have one bar.
There might be some intel around here.
But you love chocolate more? Wait, what? Dogo will love you, but you love chocolate more. I definitely do love chocolate more than you love me. Yes, that you are absolutely right, Lone, about that. Fuck. LMG, another MK249 America. Alright, so that was pretty much useless. Come in here. And I think, as far as I know, there's no other vehicle here, just the silo, so. So yeah, I can tell them that it's my Mars. They won't know. It's like a weird love triangle. No, 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 no. You don't get me into y'all's love life. Whatever is between the two of you is between the two of you. Leave me out of it. The heck, love triangle. There's no triangle, there's a line. And it's between you alone. Now if it's parallel or perpendicular, I don't know. I don't even care. Where's your favorite chocolate? My favorite chocolate. Currently, my favorite chocolate is Ferrero Rocher. Currently. But it keeps changing. It used to be Rombar. At some point, it used to be Bounty. So yeah, it changes. ADHD. Oh, you're in it. No, no, I'm not. Oh, why not intercept? Okay, that's my last one. Go back to normal. For fuck's sake, I'm listening to you guys now. I don't know where I am. Well, I do approximately, but... yeah, I do not know this place that well. Caramega Ferrero Rocher. It's my favorite too. I never said that I have Ferrero Rocher. You asked about my favorite one. But yeah, I actually do have one tablet of Ferrero Rocher at the moment in the fridge.
We got company. Stay
Retreat, no mind chart. What the
we got a
heck,
sniper.
Lord?
Front of the observation post.
I don't really want to go through there. So, you know about Dracula, right? Do you know who Dracula was? What do you call it? Who Dracula was
C7
made
target.
after?
I got a third target.
Like he was actually made after
Eyes on a gun turret.
a Romanian what's wrong with my soldiers to get those chocolates? What the heck? Look at the vampire guy with fangs. There's high maintenance then. What the heck? Bully, it's you, not me. But I think we can make this work. What the? Yes, Dracula the vampire. Count Dracula. So anyway, Dracula was actually inspired by a Romanian what do you call it? I'm not sure if he was a count, but like a
Two Sicarios. The observation post. Take a look.
Romanian leader. There we go. No, not legend, not myth, an actual Romanian leader called Vlad Țepeș. Yes, he was real. And basically the reason why history time with Dogo pretty much now. Ah shit, I'm supposed to also loot this. Pretty much the reason why it was made after him is because this leader, if he was out for people that were stealing, and he would catch the people that were stealing and he would cut off their hands so that they will not steal anymore again, and also so that to get others scared of stealing. Well, it was that, and another thing that it was that he was putting enemies' heads on spears. Like, actually, as I said, IRL. So that's who Dracula was made after. Vlad this leader. He's this ruthless leader from around here. I probably said Romanian leader, but Romania didn't really exist back then. But yeah, so wherever Romania is right now, it was Transylvania basically. So yeah. Anyway, my point with this is I might have to become Vlad Tepes if you guys are gonna try and steal my Ferrero Rocher and cut some hands off.
Enemy activity nearby.
I mean, it's in my blood, right? I'm living in a storybook. I'm not living in a storybook.
Enemy
If I'd
spotted.
be living in a storybook, that storybook would be pretty
Got another tango.
boring. Which police? Get him? What do you mean? You're the one that was threatening me with stealing stuff from my
Yo,
fridge.
cartel gunman,
Tell me where.
near that fuel tank.
Now you're
Marking an
asking
enemy.
for Twitch police.
Check your targets. We got civilians in the area.
City. That's what I thought. I won't be able to get to these properly without dying. You were joking. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's just get to the safe house here. We still need to find airplane keys. I don't even know where you live. That is true. You don't. Not many people do.
All right, we're all clear.
There are basically 3 people that know where I live, and that's it. From Twitch. But that doesn't mean that you cannot find out. And that would be a lot to go for just for some Ferrero Rocher, to steal some Ferrero Rocher, but I mean, hey, you do you. Shotgun, El Obsequio. Wait, is that? No, that's not. Shotgun. El Obsequio, this one. Yeah, no, it's not silenced. We need silenced. Actually, wait, is this silenced? This might be silenced, and I might have fucked it up. Parts, reset. Yeah, it is not silenced. You're too lazy even to. Oh, what the heck? Right, no, not that. This one. All right. Loot, nothing. The other car. Ooh, the Honey Badger. Fuck yeah. And we gonna change the shotgun to the Honey Badger. So machine gun, Honey Badger. Reset. This is silenced. Nice. You think I'm gonna go through all that work? As I say, you do you. If you think it's worth it. Did I? No, I didn't. Not this one. Deimos crossbow. Nah, I'm gonna keep the America. Flashbangs. Guess it helps a little bit in case we're in fucked up situation. And empty. All right, let's go uphill. Today, unfortunately, Lotus is not gonna be able to join us. This time I did talk to her beforehand. Since y'all didn't like it last time that I didn't talk to her.
Eyes up, we got hostiles in the area.
Hostiles, let me guess, they're gonna be right here. I know it's probably this LT that they were talking
What's
about.
that about?
Now two of them. Yeah, I know. And empty. I won there on your last stream. I wasn't there. Last stream, I missed it. I was playing some Night Rain. Okay. Last stream, we pretty much did the same thing as today. Well, kinda. We did GRW Survival like today. However, the last stream we did the GRW Survival in Ghost mode. And of course, we exfilled. It was a success. It was all good. That's what happened last stream, pretty much. And it was a pretty short stream. And I have a feeling that this stream is gonna be a pretty short one as well. Well, I guess it depends how fast we're gonna find some lane keys. Of course, you're pro. Oh shit,
Some
give me
undead
that.
fuckers approaching.
Well, I don't know about the pro part, but I mean, I'm the one that came up with the GRW survival, so not that hard to be good at something that you come up with. My YouTube videos are so cooked, nothing nice to watch. No, that your algorithm is cooked. What do you usually watch on YouTube, Long? What content is that is nice now? Is your stream? That's sad. That's very sad. A lot of Elden Ring. Okay. Why sad? It's okay. It doesn't matter. You like my content? I appreciate that. It is pretty boring. So I have to get back to some proper streaming. Shit, we can't even go up here anywhere. I did get, and I want to play, I wanted for a long time now. And I never did get, it's until now. What's it called? It's, D, something with D. Ah, geez, what's it called? Dishonored. That's what it is. I did get Dishonored 1 and 2 as well. Detroit. I do have Detroit Become Human as well, and I do want to play that one as well. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know which one. Shit, how the can't get up anywhere. What is that? Let's go check it out. Summersill, yeah. It was like 5 or 6 euros for both of them. And it's the Game of the Year edition. So with all the DLCs. I don't know which one of them. Or maybe both of them, I don't know. Both amazing games. And that's what I heard. That's why I want to try it out. I heard only good things about it everywhere. Wait, are we in... No, we are not in Itaqua. We're far from Itaqua. We should be... not in Caymanes anymore. What is next to Caymanes? Villa Verde, no, that's pretty much above it. But Okoro? I don't think that's next to it, finality. But this is, I think, the hospital. I don't know where it is. I can't think where it is. But yeah, I think this is the hospital. I'd love to see you play different games. Definitely more streams. Yeah, I would like to be able to stream Stalker. But that's what I'm playing now. for the past, I guess, few weeks. But even without streaming it, I'm getting some lag spikes, I don't know, every now and then. And I did get that at the beginning as well, when it came out. And I streamed it. And I get it on stream as well. We didn't shoot anything. That would be nice. But I mean, you won't watch it because it's horror-ish. But yeah, Dishonored, they are some older games, so I should be fine streaming them. Handgun M1911 Golden, fuck yeah. Rather than the SMG 11 Dragon. M1911 Golden. Nice. Alright, there. We shot the bullet. You're emotional? Why are you emotional? What happened? And this is empty. Not that. The honey badger. Okay, there we go. So I think that is the... I think that is Via Verde. And that valley kind of thing is Media Luna. So that's where we gotta go. That's where we have to end up. I was in the biggest VC ever in server. It lasted 3,000 hours and we just ended it. Contributed a lot. In the biggest VC, huh? Longest voice chat? Oh, stop. Because I remember. 3,000 hours? So you weren't there for 3,000 hours. But like the total hours of the voice chat, it was 3,000 hours. You told them to stop it because of Iron Man? What does that mean? Why stop it because of Iron Man? Oh, the 3,000. Okay, I see what you mean. Love you 3,000. Yep, I see what you mean. Yeah, I think that's the town in Via Verde. Good games after Doomsday, so... Okay. I should be going to see Scary Movie 4. while they're still at the cinema, or while it's still at the cinema, playing at the cinema. Actually, I'm not sure if it still is playing at the cinema. It was last week, but I think it should be still playing at the cinema this week as well. Maybe this week and maybe last week. Because that is there in the movie, in Scary Movie 4. Really? Okay. I haven't heard that. What the heck is he doing in Scary Movie 4? What the heck? Wait, that is either that has to be the city. I think that is the city. So I'm in the trailer. In the trailer? Okay. Why can't you take a heli? I didn't find any keys. Or anything. Not a helicopter. Not plane. Not even a car or bike. Not a boat. Nothing. Playing survival, we have to find everything. We found guns only and flashbangs, that's it. So we still have to stop by to loot. No maps, nothing, absolutely nothing. You start off with nothing. No maps, no HUD, no drone, no items, no binoculars, no weapons, no nothing. But thankfully
Hostiles
we
in the area,
found
stay frosty.
we found the guns. So that made it easier. And we have a couple of guns that are silenced already. The Honey Badger as a submachine gun. And the 1911 Golden as a handgun. And we have the LMG that is not silenced, but we can shoot a bunch of bullets with that, which is good. I need to play this game. I need to take a break from Souls games. I'm too addicted to Souls games. Shit. I don't like this. I don't like this because we keep
Hey, we're good.
crossing all these roads. You never know which one is gonna... Ah shit, there should have been some... We're going backwards. On the road. Because at one of the places there should be a safe house. Or is it not here? It might not be here, I don't know. It has to be somewhere around here. Maybe there? No, I don't think so. Ah, shit. Did you take a car? No, we didn't find the car keys either. So you have to find keys. You have to find to take a car. You have to find a car key. You can find car keys. You can find anything.
All good, all clear.
But you have to get lucky enough to find it. And we actually have to keep looting and to find some plane keys. Because otherwise we cannot finish. We cannot exfil. It's like our randomizer mods. Yeah, is the gameplay that I made up long? Wait, what is this rule set? Is the GRW survival the game mod that I made up? Wait, let me copy the that one, guys. You made it. Yeah, I made it. That's what I'm using. You just open it up on your browser. Now, whenever I get to a car or a corpse, I go to the browser, I hit loot, and it should give me... Oh wait, that's right, there are more things. It's GRW survival, and then at the top, you have the tools. That's so awesome. Didn't you... I think you played it with us, Lone. Didn't you once? Yeah, so if you go to GRW Survival, if you choose GRW Survival, then it's gonna go to the rule sets. Well, it's okay, because this one doesn't rely on the game. So you can open it up, you can play around with it. It doesn't matter. This link on the Discord. I think so. I don't remember if I put it on the Discord or not, to be honest. It might be. Or it might be the old link. I don't remember. But yeah, so if you go to GRW Survival, it's gonna open up with the rule sets and guidelines. You can read up on the rules and guides there. And then once you read up, you understood them, you can go to up top to the tools section. And that's what you use to play the game, to play the mod. You play it in the game, you walk up to cars, to corpse. Then once you walked up to them, here I'm gonna actually show you. So here I found some vehicles. I walk up to the vehicle. Then let me actually like show you. Where is it? It's there. I walked up to the vehicle, then I come to the browser. And here I'm gonna hit loot. And I didn't find anything useful in this car. Then after that, I go ahead and walk up to the next vehicle. Then at this vehicle, I hit loot as well. And I found explosive drone. I hit keep. Oh, then I go back to the game. And I equipped the, which one was it? Explosive drone. So now I can use the explosive drone. Then I do it again because there are 2 bikes next to me. And I found the Mendeleev submachine gun. And I am thinking to maybe change the LMG to this submachine gun. Because I think it's... let's see. Is this submachine gun Mendeleev? Where is it? Further up, Mendeleev. Yeah, this is the Scorpion. Yeah, we're gonna have that. So we have the Mendeleev now and the submachine gun. So now what I have to do, I keep this and I get rid of the LMG. This is basically just the list so that you know what you can use in the game. Interesting. How long did it take to make? I don't know, maybe a week, maybe? I don't know. I don't remember. It was a long time when I did it. Then it actually didn't look like this. Then I gave it over to Leo. Leo was the one that made this interface. And he also added the map. This is the actual map from the game. But it won't show you on the map. So you can still use this if you know where you are. Like, where are we? Right now we should be in somewhere around here. Wait, no, further in Okoro. Somewhere around here in this area. Oh, you don't see my mouse. But yeah, somewhere around in the middle of the map area. Somewhere. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, but somewhere around here. Oh yeah, I know where we are. Here at the freight yard. At the Nanma freight yard. Like at the right black rectangle. That's where we are. So from here you can basically know where you have to go. But I don't use that map. And you're not allowed to use the in-game map either unless you get lucky and loot it. Ah, shit. Like here, key motorcycle. If I would have looted this, I'm gonna discard it because this was just for tests to show you guys. If I would loot this, then I would be able to use the motorcycles. Any motorcycle. What is the fuel timer? So the fuel timer is exactly for this. Is if I find like the keys for something, then I have a limited time of fuel. Each thing has 1 minute of fuel, each vehicle, land vehicle or boat, has 1 minute of fuel by default. And you can go up, you can get up to 5 minutes. And every air vehicle has 2 minutes default of fuel and can go up to 5 minutes. So you get into the vehicle, you hit start, you go back to the game, and you go until it gets to 0. Or you can just pause it as well. Wait, can you use the mod without leveling up, like, I mean, a new playthrough? Yes, you can use it with a new playthrough as well, with a new character. I presume that's what you mean. However, you have to keep in mind that the things that you find, this is literally the entire pool. Whatever you find is the entire pool of items and weapons and everything. So you might find, I don't know, like, okay, so exactly this, the Mendeleev. The Mendeleev you get once you finish the boss of Kaimanes. So if you manage to get the Mendeleev, to find the Mendeleev, you won't be able to use it because you don't have it. A week, bro, you crazy? What the heck? I all crazy. I'm so hyped. Damn, pretty inefficient engine. What, because of the timer? Yeah, I had to make it low so that you have to actually stop and don't go to across the entire world with one vehicle. I mean, you can go through the entire world with one vehicle, but yeah. Alright, how a new player would use this who never played JRW? Like, can they use maps from website? They can use the map that you saw, like, on that website that I posted there. But yeah, this is not really for new gamers. That for new people, I should say. For new people, new to Wildlands, I mean. For people new to Wildlands. This is more for people that already finished Wildlands and they don't really have anything else to do anymore. This is something to help them do something else as well. GG's, I'm cooked then. I wanted to play this one. I mean, you can. It's not that you're not allowed to or whatever. It wasn't thought out for new players. But I mean, last week when I played this in Ghost mode, that was pretty much a level 5, I think, character. So that was a new character. I found a bunch of stuff that I couldn't use because I didn't have them unlocked yet. Like, I didn't find them yet. Weapons.
I got one narco by the helo.
If you want, we can play it together alone. And I can help you out. Like, it's not a problem that that it's a new character for you. It shouldn't be that big of a problem. Shocked? Why are you shocked?
Hang back, that tango might spot you.
You'll have to finish the base game. Why don't you join up with us on Saturdays? Now let's finish your game. Lotus is gonna, I'm sure Lotus is gonna want to help as well. Just went in straight to ghost mode and died like 53 times. Finish the base game first. After that, go to Gozma if you really want a challenge. He's dead. Hopefully nobody saw him die. Or nobody will see his body. I have to install a game. So install it. Many excuses. Exactly. Many excuses, Lone. That is 2 guys. That is
We're cool.
3 guys. We got so lucky that that 4 guy that we just killed didn't see any of the bodies. So lucky, especially since he was in here. Oh yeah, and you do have to play this with no HUD. If you're lucky, you can find either just the compass. Do you need DLCs? No, you don't. No, you don't need any DLCs. I mean, the pool of items is gonna include DLC guns as well. But you don't need the DLCs to play it. So basically, here, let me show you this. So, back here in the info section. So, survive, loot, escape. Endgame character with 100% weapons and equipment collected is required. Is not required, but it's recommended. But, however, it doesn't matter. Objectives. Loot around until at least one player acquires the ability to fly planes. So, plane keys. Reach an agreed exfil point and fly away. So before you start, you have to think, where do you want to exfil from? The exfil can be in any of these places. Airports or airstrips. It is one of these places. The reason why it's one of these places is because only at these places you can find planes for sure. Like even after you finished the game. In no of the other places, airports or airstrips, you can find a plane for sure. Alright, initial setup. Holster all weapons, get in a plane and fly far from the designated exfil point. What we usually do is we set one of the exfil points. For example, for me, I have to go to Kuani, the Kuani airport. That's where my exfil is. I started in Libertad, which is basically exactly the opposite corner of the map. Kuani is northwest, Libertad is southeast corner. Turn off the in-game HUD. So no HUD. Jump off at a random location to begin the game. Parachute is required. Yeah, that is one thing that you need, a parachute, because otherwise you cannot jump out. The first parachute is used up and cannot be used anymore until one is looted. So once you use the parachute for the first time, you jump out of the plane, that's it. You don't have any more parachutes. All right. Rules and limitations in general. HUD has to be completely off. No in-game map is allowed. Weapons, binoculars, drones, and items are not allowed once the game begins until looted. So you can loot any of these. You are not allowed to spawn vehicles or rebel forces. So no spawning vehicles, no rebel forces. Downed players are considered dead and not allowed to talk or give directions about their locations. This is if you're playing with somebody else. That's why you have to talk, to communicate before going down, so that the other player knows where to go for you. All right, loot. Loot is acquired from downed enemies, rebels, not civilians, and usable empty vehicles. So, corpse, if it's enemy or rebels, and usable empty vehicles, including those that arrive during confrontations. Yeah. Loot sources can be used only once per team. So that means if you're in a team and you loot a specific car, then any other of your team members cannot loot that specific car anymore. Once looted, it's looted for everybody. Loot can be traded only with nearby teammates. So, like, if you're gonna play alone with me and you find a weapon, let's say a weapon that you don't have, you didn't find yet, didn't unlock yet, and I am nearby, you can give that weapon to me. And I can use it in that case. Vehicles with white black smoke can be looted. Yeah. Destroyed vehicles, unusable, wreckage, or on fire cannot be looted. So if a vehicle blows up, that's it. You cannot loot that. Do not stop or kill neutral civilian, allied or enemy, individuals and or vehicles for loot or weapons, including lieutenants. Supply boxes and ammo boxes do not contain loot. Use them as normal. Okay, so there's the loot button, the key button, the discard, the reset, whatever. Weapons. Loot on website, equipping game. Reset weapon parts to default parts. Pick up from downed enemies, rebels, and use as is. Yeah, you can also pick up like weapons from guys that you killed or that were killed. Suppressors can only be used if available on a stock weapon. If a weapon from a loot is not allowed, it is not owned by any players, it is discarded. You can equip only 2 primary weapons and 1 handgun. You cannot carry additional weapons in your inventory. So there are a bunch of stuff here. Okay, here's the vehicles part that you keep asking me about. All ground and water vehicles have 1 IRL minute of fuel by default. Maximum 5 minutes. All air vehicles have 2 IRL minutes of fuel by default. Max 5 minutes. Collect fuel from adjacent vehicles of the same kind to add 1 minute of fuel per vehicle to your vehicle. So that means that if I find a car that I can drive, I found a car key as well, so I can drive it, and there are 2 more cars next to this car, then I can basically siphon the fuel from the other 2 cars into my car, and instead of 1 minute, I will have 3 minutes of fuel. Ground vehicles can refuel at gas stations. The driver must stand by a gas pump for 1 IRL minute. So yeah, you can also refuel at gas stations as well. The ground vehicles. You just have to stand for 1 minute at the gas pump. The timer starts when the vehicle moves and stops when the vehicle halts. This is the vehicle timer that you asked about. The vehicle is stopped and exited once the fuel time runs out. Fuel is lost if the vehicle is destroyed or drowned. And here are some suggestions. High contrast civilian outfit, a vibrant colored parachute, jump off the plane at different times, locations if you're playing in a team, deploy at night, playing on extreme difficulty. But again, these are just suggestions. I always play on extreme. I deploy whenever. I'm not looking at if it's a night or not. Jump off the plane at different times, locations. I play alone, so it doesn't matter. Vibrant color parachutes. I don't do that, and I don't do high contrast civilian outfit either. But anyway, let's get back to our game, shall we? It's a lot of info, so it's probably easier to just play it, and you'll see it then. I can get the DLC, anyways. No, as I said, you don't need the DLCs. It's fine. It's fine to play it without the DLCs as well. Okay, discard a motorbike because I didn't. That was just a test. So, we looted the helicopter. We didn't find anything. We didn't loot the corpse. But here was one of them. It disappeared, but we can still loot. And that had the LMG U100. Not interested. Here was another one. See, this is what I'm talking about. The weapons that they dropped. You can actually pick up and use those as well. I'm not gonna because I have a better one. This guy had the Deimos crossbow. Now here was another guy. Loot him. He had a Deimos crossbow as well. Dagnaggit. Don't care about the Deimos crossbow. And there's this guy that we killed here. He had... Ooh! Plane keys. Nice. So now we can fly planes. If we find a plane. And we can actually extract as well. And this motorbike had nothing. It was empty. So that was actually not a bad thing. We can fly planes. We just have to find a plane. Anyway, we keep going towards Koani. Well, let me know when you want to play alone. Or when you want to play this. And we shall play. Hopefully, if I can. So I have to be careful here. Not walk on the train tracks because the trains are actually running on these tracks. You have to get past this mountain. Actually, fuck it. Let's go right there. We have plane keys already. I can fly planes, so we should be fine. I'm gonna go loot that vehicle as well. You will download. All right, yeah. Also, don't forget to hydrate, guys. Don't forget to hydrate. I will want to redo what you saw and make it more user-friendly and everything eventually. And change a bit some of the things. LMG MK249. No, thank you. Looks good to me, to be honest. Yeah, I want to make it closer to how the game looks. Okay, so you did see my other, what I'm working on. I'm pretty sure you did, but let me show you. Actually, wait, no, not. Let me show you. This. This. Oops, not that. Application. No. Where is my entire screen? I'm gonna have to show my entire screen. Right screen. Hey, just give me a second until this one loads up. Music glitch. How awesome. You should actually not hear the music at all. Wait up, wait up. There's nothing to see yet, just yet. I have to even remember how to start it. Oh, there we go. Duh. Okay, so let me show you this. So, the game, right? With its settings and everything. All right. Let me come back here. And voila. This is not the game. But it is something that I did. This is for this is to be able to deactivate the first person mod for Wildlands. And I can show you now because the game is running. But yeah, here when you toggle the activate on off, on the right side, it's gonna show you which if you have it activated, it's gonna show you the first person. If you have it deactivated, like right now, it's showing this, the third person. That is man a hacker. What the heck? It just looks like the game. That's it. Anyway, what I meant to say with this is what I want to do with, where is it? This is what I want to do with this as well. I want to make it look like the game. Same UI, exactly. Okay, we're back into the game. Okay, now you should have the music back. Good luck to you, sir. I wish I can help you, but this is sadly above my brain cells. Oh, nah, it's all good. It's all good. AI is helping me, actually. Claude Code is helping me. It already helped me a lot. It's already working, but I still need to do some things and to test some things out. And once I'm done with it, I'm gonna send out some copies to Leo, to Jet, probably, to Lou, probably to Lotus, to Nini. And if you want to you as well, Lone, I would be happy if you could help me to test it out, basically, to see if you guys can use it easily and if it works properly. And once it's tested out and everything's all right, I'm gonna give it out to the public. For now, what I want to do is to be able to update the app, like remotely, like with what Discord does. It just updates whenever you start it, or it updates when you hit the update button. That's what I want to implement for this, what you saw as well, the first person mod swapper. Anyway, that car had another Mendeleev, so that didn't help too much because we already have it. That is the Unidad base here in Okoro, where we are. So we're not gonna go there, even though I'm kind of tempted to, but no. No, 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 no. us. On, we're almost there. There we go, finally. Okay. It would be nice if we would find some car keys. So we could drive. We still have a long way to go. We're just in Okoro. We still have to cross into Itaqua basically. And then cross into Via Verde. Then from Via Verde to Media Luna. And from Media Luna to Koani, where our exfil is at Koani Airport. Maybe we could also use a sniper rifle instead of probably this honey badger, I would say. Be nice. And of course a silent sniper rifle, not just any sniper rifle. Call. Alright, take your time. Alright, take your time. If we would only have a parachute, that would be so nice. You just jump off and probably end up there or something like that. Since we're going this way, we can probably stop at the casino to grab a few more things. We could also stop at that city, town. I don't remember what's it called. It's basically the one that we go to after we rescue Amaru. Let's attempt to not die from falling. I don't really want to go through that checkpoint either. Oh shit. Which way can we go safely? Kinda safe-ish. Hey, look, an armadillo. Armadillo base is not far from here, to the south. A little bit of swimming. Should we go up here in this village, this town? We could. You loot some there, some cars. It's a town. There are usually cars in a town, in towns.
Just about everywhere we go and throw lead, the kids still find the time to play.
Here's one of them. The place actually where you spawn in if you spawn here. Scorpion compact machine gun, submachine gun, compact machine gun. Oh wait, that's right. Now we have the explosive drone, so you can actually look around. There's one car. There is another one. And a couple more. And a couple more, even though those are kind of close to the tangos. All that side is full of
Tango marked, but
tangos.
he's got a civilian nearby.
2, 3, 4. And even more that I cannot mark from here. Anyway, let's go uphill. The car up here, cars up here. Out of the guy's reach. So here's one. SMG 11 Dragon. Actually, let's do this. There are a couple here. Oh, more than just a couple. Empty. Here we have to be careful. I even see a guy right now. It's past 12.
That makes 5.
That guy. That's what I meant to say. Here we have to be careful about the guys that are also sometimes sitting here. Like this guy that already disappeared. Okay then. And he had a Deimos crossbow on him. Type 95 initiate.
Hey, we got a narco. The dump. Where else?
Extranjeros BFG. There we go. I'm gonna change this to the Extranjeros BFG, which is a sniper rifle. Let's see, the Extranjeros ones. Extranjeros BFG. Ooh, it is not silenced. Let's not. Let's not. Okay, we got all of these. Now let's get these two. Loot, Santa Blanca Scorpion, compact machine gun. Nothing useful. There is a broken car, so we're not interested in that. However, this one is not, so loot empty. Loot empty. Loot MK48 Wasteland LMG. I don't think there's anything else. Oh yeah, this, never mind. Shotgun Silencio. Oh, we don't need that though. And I think that's it. Oh, maybe not. Oh, two of them right next to each other. Nice. Sniper rifle. L115A3. I don't think that that's silenced either. Oh, no, not that. Sniper L115A3. Parts reset. Nope, it's not. So we don't want that. And this one, M4A1 template. No, not template, temple. Ooh, that we might actually, because that's an assault rifle. M4A1 temple. It is silenced and it does have the stuff that I usually use. So, fuck yeah, instead of the honey badger. Nice. Good, good, good.
We
Awesome.
ought to be able to find some intel around here.
Good thing we came and checked this place as well. Wait, let me keep that and get rid of the honey badger. There we go. We did do that. And I don't think there's anything back here. Actually, I don't even remember this place back here. This is gonna actually bring us to the top part of the SB section, I think. Yeah, back here. There's sometimes a guy, well, usually a guy standing up here. Was I being spotted? Is that what I heard? There's sometimes some Unitech guys back here as well. But I don't see any right now, so that's good.
Tango marked. He's a
That's
little
a
close to
Tango.
civilians.
Kinda tempted to go check that helo, but
We got civilians dangerously
At the
close.
same time,
Check your
not
targets
really.
before you shoot.
nah, not gonna risk it for one loot. We're gonna keep going. Okay, we would have to somehow cross and go right, but without being detected, because that's a checkpoint. Crossing from Itaqua to Villaverde. So we cannot cross at the checkpoint itself. But we could cross here next to it. Ah, shit. And go uphill some. And then
All right, we're all clear.
go to the right uphill from them. But we're also gonna have to be careful because uphill, just in the
Heads up.
vegetation,
Got an Unidad patrol approaching.
I got a
there
Sicario
are
over
some
here,
other
close
guys
to
as
the
well.
container.
Let's not get too close to them. We don't want to get seen. Going right here because we are gonna go to the casino because there are a bunch of vehicles there that we can actually loot.
Careful, Sicario sporting a submachine gun. Next to the container, see?
No,
Good to
I
go.
don't see. But it's fine. I don't need to see. Have to stay as much as possible off the road. We don't need Unidad to pass by and fuck us up. It should be coming up to the... There it is, the casino. Anytime. Is what I meant to say.
We got hostiles in the area.
Oh shit, are you serious? That is not good. That is really not good.
We got a non-armored vehicle in the convoy.
The drone is up.
We have a double convoy, don't we? No,
Got a
just a
third.
single convoy. Where is the front car then? Because that is the one that seems to be missing. Ah shit, I unit that
Enemy
now.
marked.
Okay, so
Just spotted one with submachine guns. That's 10 targets. Sniper out there.
we're gonna wait until Unidad passes.
We've got movement. Looks like an Unidad
Or
convoy.
they already passed.
Radio truck and escorts.
There's gear in that radio truck that could make life a lot easier for the rebels. You want to go
I
after
guess
it?
they despawned. Anyway. Yeah, see? Like 8-9 cars here. Plus the 2 guys that we're gonna kill in the middle. Plus there's one that we're gonna play in there. The other ones we can basically leave
Target
alone.
marked.
I
Keep
would
an eye on your
also
background.
wanna get the sniper, but
Marking a captain. Marking a
not
tango.
necessarily.
Close to that local.
there's actually an LT there as well. But okay, so I see no Unidad, so we can get these guys to leave.
These guys are riding heavy. Watch yourselves. A non-armored vehicle is escorting the convoy.
Hopefully they're gonna just run away. That's what they usually do. Fuck. think there should be only one guy left. He's dead.
Okay, we're cool.
Why the fuck did you have to come here? Is 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 guys. I think he was here. One of them was here. One, nothing. Was he here? The other one? I think he was. Nothing. These two, well, 3, I guess. With the guy up there. 1, nothing. Deimos crossbow and handgun P12. Ah, we're good. Actually, wait. P12. Maybe? P12. No. I was hoping that it's upgraded like these other ones, but it's not. So never mind.
That whip's got an alarm.
Okay, both down.
Relax, we're still good.
That is 2. And there's 1 in there. That's the LT. There he is. He's down as well, good. There's the sniper. I'm kind of tempted to take him, but at the same time I don't want to, because there's a guy underneath him. Okay, loot noisemaker drone. LMG unit at RPK-74. Hey, we got a compass. I'm not gonna activate it because we're fine. I did keep it though. Sniper is looking this way, I don't like that. Submachine UMP 45. Submachine gun Residuos. Should actually get him there.
Okay, we're still alright.
We are not going to go for the sniper.
I'm seeing 2 narcos here.
Even though we
In the
could.
casino.
Oh yeah, you don't have anything. Forgot to say, this one doesn't have anything either. Sniper rifle SR-25 jungle. Now that one. Ooh, but sniper rifle SR-25 jungle. Oh, that's okay. Never mind. I thought that was silenced, but it's not. Suppressed. Okay, we got 3 more cars. Nothing. Nothing. And assault rifle, GRFS ACR. Ooh, that's... I might actually change to that. This is the one that I used to use before for a longer time. GRFS ACR. Oh, but that's not blah 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 woof woof. Never mind. It's not silenced, so no. It's not suppressed. Hey there, Shadow. Blah 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 woof woof. How you doing, Shadow? Welcome in. Spotted. Somebody somewhere, probably that guy.
Check your targets. We got civilians in the area.
I'll leave him alone though. We could also go check that boat. Alright. And Deimos crossbow again.
Tango marked, but he's
That
got a
is a
civilian
tango.
nearby.
Doing okay? Dying?
Oh, hell, they found out.
Dying of the heat wave?
We're good, we're good.
Oops, no. Nothing? .9mm C1 submachine gun and compact machine gun SMG-11 Dragon. Nothing interesting. What's the numbers there? Spaz 12 skulls and blood. Not interested. We could go up for the sniper, but nah. From 12th of July and 2 weeks ahead, I will be away. Oh, going to a cooler place. There's a guy. There's a thing here as well. And it's empty.
Okay, we're cool. Eyes up, we got hostiles in the area.
Any there? No. 19. Living in an apartment, it's either like a devil's butt. Nope. I'm gonna clean up in my childhood home. Okay. Well, is it cooler there at least?
Should be okay now.
I get you about the... Oh shit, we're up here. I get you about the heated apartment though. I live in an apartment on the top floor as well. On the 4th, well 5th I guess, floor. And it's fucking crazy. Okay, this is going to the base. Yes, because here's the car. It's like it's 30. I hope so, or I'm gonna empty the freezer and live there. What the heck? It's Scorpion Skull, compact machine gun. These things are not helping. I want a car key. It's like I can go. I saw, I think it was today, and you were doing some, you're streaming some GTA on your Discord. Can you get up there? No, you cannot. Yeah, that's not helping. Okay, here. Okay, good. Getting nighttime and we don't have night vision. It's so hot. I'm not complaining, but just wanna sleep a bit. Yeah. Or how did blah
Yo, we got hostiles.
blah 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 woof, woof. How did that go? Where we got hostile? Oh shit, we are outside. Can we get inside without going under a main entrance? Without taking the main entrance? Yes, we can. Awesome. Not 100% sure how many guys are there, so I would
Big
rather
roll
not.
clear now.
Road.
We got hostiles in the area.
Yeah, we do. We definitely do. It was fun. My character is learning a guy again to be a criminal or a thief. Yes, I'm in the process of growing weed in GTRP, as always. Right, as always. Are you still playing
Marking a
Schedule
hostile.
one?
He's close to some
We got
locals.
civilians dangerously close. Check your targets
Check your
before
targets.
you shoot.
We got civilians all over the place.
Ya no podemos con esto. ¿Qué hace, pues?
empty?
Unidad bird on patrol. Watch out.
Bird, that's fine.
Eyes on a sniper. There, on the bridge.
Explosive drone again. We already have that. Nothing. I will read up in just a bit. You should take care. Another explosive drone. What the fuck? These guys have a lot of explosives. Probably take that sniper, but Type 95 initiate. Can go that way. Kinda can. Or maybe not. Come on. Fine.
Got eyes on Tango. He's got a lot of background.
We're cool, we're cool.
Hey, suppressor. Nice. Too bad I don't have anything to put it on. But if I get something that I would rather use, I can put the suppressor on it. Okay. Let's get the fuck out of here. And let me catch up with chat. There we go. Okay, so as much as I played with Frosty once and I can't remember what he did or what he made. Okay, so I'm like, I might have to start over again. I see.
Yo, cartel gunman.
I don't see him.
Over by the parking area.
He started seeing me actually.
Tango number 3.
Which I don't mind because I like the game a lot. Why am I not surprised?
And baby makes 3.
Okay. There we go. All right. Let's get in.
All right, we're good.
Start looting. Diversion lure. What do I mean? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. EMP drone. I don't know what you're talking about.
Eyes up, we got hostiles in the area.
I got a narco over here.
Where you got him?
There, on the balcony.
A regular drone. Sniper rifle. Lanza Sagrada. I still have to get that game. But I'm waiting for a proper discount on it. M1911. Oh wait, M1911. Isn't that properly M1911? There we go. And it is silenced. So there we go. We already had the other M1911. Oh wait. Keep and M1911 golden gone. Finally, key to some motorcycles. Well, now I have to find a motorcycle. Ah, dang it, there's none here. Empty. Oh yeah, we also have to get these two guys that we killed here.
Hey, we got a narco. Near the building.
Some machine gun PSG. 3 guys actually. One here. I don't see the weapon, but I killed him here. Like here. Santa Blanca Scorpion compact machine gun. One somewhere over out here. Empty. Then the guy from here and these 3 vehicles. Do you need to get the game? I did play a lot, well, a lot, not debatable, but quite a lot compared to other demos. I did play the demo. And actually, it's kind of weird how much of the demo you can play. The drone. Like, I could keep going with the demo.
Heads up, narco with a submachine gun. Close to the drone jammer.
Okay, let's go up to the drone jammer and get those guys. But you want to discount? Wow. Yes, I do not want to pay more. I want to pay less, actually.
They're gonna make you back up. Okay, we're still good.
1,
He makes
2.
5.
There we go. Good thing the other one doing here.
We're good to go.
And a game that's so much, no need to wait for it to be cheaper. Empty. This shouldn't really matter, but whatever. Okay, there we go. And submachine gun residuos. Okay, motorbike. Where the fuck do we get a motorbike? There's none in the middle either where we came from. Power rise entry. There's also something that surprised me. The process of demo stays the same. It does not let you process through, which makes sense because demo. I'm not entirely sure what you mean. So where I got with the demo was wait, did I have to buy? I don't remember. So I have 2 places. The initial place, which is the motel room, basically. And the other one is just down the road from the motel, which is like upstairs, in an upstairs apartment, I guess. So I have those 2 places. I have set up in a motel room. I actually don't have set up anything, if I remember correctly, because I moved everything to the other place. But there I have set it up so that I have a bunch of drugs being grown, and I what do you call it? I package them there.
Bad guys in the area.
And then go out and sell them. So that's basically where I got with the game.
All right, we're all clear.
The sniper has absolutely nothing, of course. Okay, I have to find some
Enemy
bike
activity
somewhere.
nearby. I heard a Sicario over here, by the checkpoint.
next to the road. Not a good idea.
Hey, we're good.
That is a van, a minivan. Let's go check that out. Maybe we can find a car key in it. So in a full game, you can buy a house and process further with the drug and basically try to test other drugs, but I don't think that will let you do. So buy a bunch of items to make drugs and get to name them yourself. I don't recall any naming, so that is most probably not in the demo. You can combine a bunch of the stuff that you buy, and you can make a lot of combinations. I do remember that. That's also what I
Check
did.
it out.
But I guess you're talking about some stuff that you cannot buy at all.
Hey,
LMG veteran brand, we don't care. At all in the demo.
Sniper, top of the tower.
careful. Sicario's sporting a submachine gun. Over by the checkpoint.
You can buy, but the phone calls you get to process the further into the game. Yeah, there's no processing in the demo. Get down.
That was fucking close.
Shit.
Get down before they see you.
Who? Is this a sniper?
I got a target carrying submachine guns.
Okay, we're cool.
Like a feud with a cartel? What the heck? Okay, that is definitely not in the... Well, actually, I don't know, but I don't think that that's in the demo. I feel like I haven't gotten to the end of the demo. So, I don't know what's exactly in the demo. But that's what it feels like, that I haven't gotten to the end of it. Alright, I'm not gonna... Actually, it's not that far. Fuck it.
Got some hostile activity. Hey, we got a narco next to the sandbag emplacement.
Another medic drone. I already have it. I just can't find any car keys. Hopefully we're gonna find a motorbike in that case. And we're nowhere near any planes, because we also have some plane keys.
Okay, all clear.
But it's addictive as further you go, because you're gonna
we got
get your
hostiles in the
clients to get
area.
addicted to the drugs. What the heck? Right. Well, that's why it's called
Spotted
free
another
sample. The demo.
Tango. Shit, we've got cartel soldiers nearby.
Ah, finally. A bike. Alright, that's empty. The other guy has a P45T. And this has nothing.
I've got the bike.
Go on, I'll be right with you.
And we have 1 minute of fuel. Start. Go. Yes, survival tonight. We don't have Lotus joining us. And we finished. Kinda. with the challenges. The reason I say kinda stop is because the last challenge is Operation Silent Space Snafu, which bluntly put, fuck no.
That was close.
So yeah, there we are.
Check your targets. We got civilians in the area.
You guys all good? Damn, I love this job.
All right, loot empty. Loot a Mark 17 nerd. Okay, and that's plus 1 minute. And loot and plus 1 minute. P90 Murmio. She got tired of us. Nah, she's busy. She's taken by her mom. She's busy with her mom. Don't forget to hydrate, guys. Don't forget to hydrate. All right, 2.5 minutes. I don't know what's happening, but this feels so good. The way the fan blows right now. Come on. Okay, let's get in here. We should have at least this. And we still have 1.5 minutes. That's 2 minutes with this. Another bike. 3 minutes. 3.5. Alright, empty. I think I hydrated so much that my apartment is gonna dry out. Okay, not really. I got a fan blowing on me. Wait, that sounds wrong. What the heck? I know what you mean. But it does sound wrong. Deimos crossbow, come on. Oh, another one. Empty. Wasn't there a tractor here? From what I recall. Yeah, right here. There we go. Actually, you know what? It doesn't sound that bad. You did put the on there. You didn't say a fan is blowing me, so
Move out. I'm on your
it
six.
doesn't sound that bad as it could. If you know, that means you think like I do, so it must be in my brain then. Nah. Okay, 3. There was another one that's 4.5 minutes. Plus the tractor. Okay, full tank. Thank you for saving me. You're welcome, I guess. Alright, let's get the... try not to blow ourselves up in the first place. Running into freaking explosive barrels. I'm just gonna keep driving.
Got some.
Not gonna stop for these, even though we could. Ah, shit. There's the convoy with the helo. Now a little over 4 minutes. We're gonna see where we get low on fuel, and we're gonna go there to refuel if there is something nearby. Yes, everything of driving in this game. It's fine. It's not the best, but it's fine, I guess. Oh, why did the music stop now? Oh, it didn't stop. I'm just, yeah. This is just how it starts. Going through Media Luna, a little over 3 minutes left. Just wondering. Yeah, I don't know. I did used to like it, but now I'm just meh. It's fine. There is better driving in other games, but it's not like crazy bad. Flying. Well, since I am using the classic controls and not the new ones, actually, let me put it this way. The new controls, I hate. That's about the new controls. The classic controls that I am using, those I actually like. I like that it's more than just WASD. I hoped you would say that. Why? How much? 140. We're very close. This is what I was thinking, that we will be able to come up to this safe house here in Kwani to refuel, and that seems about right, because right now it's 1:15 left, and safe house should be around the corner. Right here to the right. Ah. This should be another full tank. I guess playing GTA for so long, I compare all that game, so it's actually good to hear a different kind of mindset. So I do like in any game, and unfortunately GTA doesn't have it, but I do like in any game with the helos. But you actually asked about flying, not just helos. But so that's whatever I was saying is about the helos. Oh, you're locked up. But the flying, I actually, with the planes, the flying I actually like in this game. Can't be drawn, we already have it. But regarding the helos in any game, I liked where the helo you have to actually, it's not just WASD. You have to actually tilt it and go forward, or to go forward, basically. Where it's a little bit more realistic. I like that in games, in those games that do that. I like that. Desert plains and wildlands I love, but not in GTA. In GTA, I don't think I flew enough in GTA to say anything about that. Planes. Helos. In GTA, I kind of like helos flying. I don't remember exactly how it is, but I remember flying, and I kind of like flying helos in GTA. You know, I have not experienced Wood and Wildlands.
I'm riding the motorcycle.
Go on, I'll meet you.
Yeah, well, there isn't any. With the classic controls that I use, what you have to do in Wildlands is you have to hold down Shift and W. Shift is, if you hold down just Shift, Shift is just going up with the helo. Shift up, control down. To go forward, you can use only W, but it's gonna go forward very slow. So if you want to go proper speed, full speed with the helo in Wildlands, you have to hold down Shift and W for a few seconds until it gets that inertia. Once it gets that inertia, you let go of W, because that's gonna tilt the nose down and you're gonna actually go down even more. So you just keep...
saying hi to everyone. Been watching for a while, but it's too hot in here still. 28.5 degrees. Going back to sit in front of the fan to cool down, leaving the tab open. Enjoy, little rascals.
Hey there, Happy. Thank you very much for that resub. I hit 28.5. I feel you. I feel you. It's crazy everywhere. It's crazy. But thank you very much for the lurk, Happy. And once again, thank you very much for that resub. What were you saying? What else were you saying? Remember when we played GTRP, I had a small keyboard, so I didn't have the numpads. Oh yeah, I don't remember exactly how you fly in GTA, but I remember that it was pretty good. All right, 5 minutes. We should get there within these 5 minutes. Or with these 5 minutes. I just have to get to Koani Airbase. Smacks Happy's butt of happiness. What the heck? There's another convoy. Numpads in that server we were in together. No, I remember that you have to do something with the numpads to fly But that's like in GTA base period. Not just in like in GTA Online as well. I just don't remember what. I think that's the tilting, if I remember correctly. Oh shit. Because I think it's 8 to tilt it forward, and then W to go forward. I think, but I'm not entirely sure. Then S to tilt it back, and A, 4 and 6. Not S. What am I talking? 2 to tilt it back, and 4 and 6 to tilt it sideways. I think, but again, I'm not 100% sure. All right, a little more over 2 minutes. 2 minutes 40 left, but we're not gonna need it anymore.
I got eyes on the sniper.
Alright, sniper's down.
All good, all clear.
Said I could fly, but I crashed while I had Nini with me, so I was bragging too soon. Tag.
Got some hostile activity.
There's usually a guy down here. Oh, he's moving away. At least I hope that's him.
Okay, we're still good.
I'm not even
Think
gonna,
we're all clear now.
what do you call it? Loot
Hostiles
them.
in the area, stay frosty.
We landed in the water, kinda, but not really.
Back it up, back it up.
Kinda, but not really. What do you mean? You crash landed in the water? Yeah. And
Okay,
when was
whoa.
this?
We've got enemy activity nearby.
Just spotted one with submachine guns.
I didn't
I
escape.
got one narco, over by the turret.
He's not here. I don't think so. If he is, he didn't say anything.
Eyes on a gun turret.
Tango knows somebody's got a beat on him. Okay, we're still
Right,
alright.
because he's not dying from one shot. That was a couple of years ago. Oh. Well, then you had time
Sniper out
to get better since. I don't know what that sniper is, but I think he was the one seeing us. Gabe, if you're here, say nothing. Alright, sniper's not outside. There he used to be.
I got a
That
third.
guy is always stuck there into that plane.
We're cool, we're cool.
And baby makes 3.
I want to take the...
You're gonna get made, hang back.
I got a third
Relax,
target.
you're still good. Hold up, they're gonna see you.
No, they won't. I'm gonna take the power first. Shit.
And baby makes 3.
So lucky. so freaking
Alright,
lucky.
breathe easy.
That he didn't see the body. You will try?
I heard a Sicario over here,
I don't see him.
close to the container.
Oh, you didn't get better yet. That was a guy on patrol. He used to be. We do have plane keys, so we can get the fuck out of here.
I'll fly.
Power is down, so SAM sites shouldn't be a
Good, crank it.
problem. Not that they were anyway. Honestly, never got better. Alright, out we fly. There we go. Exfil successful. We did it. Stop pushing me, attack. I already had a crash when all of this started. What the fuck am I doing? Okay, get this back. The fuck? Mark 18. EFG 50A. 57 USG. Medic drone. Our proper outfit. There we go. Fuck. No, but...
We got a Sicario. The checkpoint, over there. Yo, 2 cartel gunmen, over there, next to the container.
Tango number 3.
I'm gonna take the Hilo and fly back to the island. So another crash would be fun. Oh, what the heck? You're kind of fun, right? There will be an actual crash, not just jumping out of the plane. I'm an album. An album. What the fuck? Listening to the music. I'm an island. In a way, I guess. And so are you. And everybody else. Yeah, let me stop that. And that. This should be fine. Okay. All right. So.
Sure are a lot of lights
There you
and
go.
switches up here.
Maybe we can be an album. Right. I guess I
go.
could. Our island now is too small to be even a lake or an airport. What the heck? That mark is too small to be an island. Well, Denmark is a peninsula, isn't it? Actually, wait, doesn't Denmark have... like, it is the peninsula, but doesn't it have, like, some island as well? Or islands, maybe? I don't know. I'm not with geography. Grass spots. But surrounded with water. I mean, that's pretty much what an island is. Some grass spots surrounded by water. The heck? It does not have palm trees though. It doesn't have to be palm. It doesn't have to have palm trees to be an island. What the heck? And that would kind of be weird. Palm trees in Denmark. I mean, how the weather and the climate is going. Maybe in the near future it won't be that weird, but yeah, that's a whole different story. Yes, it do. No, it doesn't. What the heck? That would be so crazy. It's true. Yeah. Here we actually, like right here at the block of flats at the time, and when I came here, now not anymore, but when I came here, and I think maybe the first year or the first couple of years, I don't remember exactly how long, or something like that, they did have a palm tree in the garden, like right in front of the building. Which, yeah, it's crazy for here too. Yeah. Actually, wait a second. Was the... Maybe it wasn't a palm tree. I think it might have been a banana tree. A small one, of course, but still. I remember that, but not how long. Or you sharded 1 hour ago. What the heck? I did not. Well, not an hour ago anyway. Yeah, not too bad. Could be better, but still. Sure you didn't. What the heck? not an hour ago, as I said. You knew it. All right. But since we're done with shit. Okay, here. Since we exfilled successfully. That means that we are done for today. Lone was here earlier. I was telling him that I got a Dishonored 1 and 2. And I will most probably stream it. Because I definitely want to play it. 3.5 hours. Okay, not too bad. 3.5 hours. Okay, not too bad. Thanks, friend, for the chat and for fun. It's always appreciated what you do. Spring's awesome. Random meeting you all the time. Thank you as well, Shadow, and thank you for coming in. Even in the heat that it is right now. And thank you everybody else as well. I still have to continue Ghost of Tsushima on stream. But get through this like every year. Yeah. Because we have to. It's a must. Alright, but seriously, thank you very much everybody for being here. Thank you for the talks, guys. Shadow, Lone. And yeah, hope to see you on the next one, whenever that's gonna be. I do recommend Discord to be up to date. Whenever I go live, there are all the other socials that I don't use. And yeah, until next time, I wish you all a great day, night, evening, morning, or whatever else applies to you guys. And fuck you too, Shadow. Bye bye, guys.
Have you